Yeah, no, yeah. Yep. Ow, my toe. What the well, then I got that on camera. Wait, it's like crooked. No, it's not. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
It's fine. Is that bothering you?
Yeah, it's bothering me.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm Lena.
And I'm Sophie.
And this is the second episode of the Hearts Align podcast.
And today we are talking about something that's very difficult to do, but that's trusting God's plan.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, recently, especially, I have been having a lot of struggles to actually trust God's plan and not, like, freak out about the future.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that's, like, really difficult for me, and I know for a lot of people, so I feel like that's a good topic to cover today.
Yeah.
So, the first thing I wanted to talk about, this is, I found a quote, and it says, it's by Elizabeth Elliot, and it says, "Fear arises when you imagine that everything depends on you." That quote, I feel like, just kind of like summarizes what we're going to talk about today. And that is, in the end, it's on God's hands and it's all God's plan. So, you know, we're just here to follow through on God's plan and to be part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I have something that kind of goes with this. Is everything will happen exactly how God intends it to. So just let go and trust in His plan.
Yeah.
And it, like, Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their life course, but the Lord establishes their steps." And, like, that kind of goes along with the quote. But yeah, it's, like, basically saying, like, trust, like, God designed us.
Yeah.
And He has our whole life, like, planned out. We don't need to plan out our lives.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to kind of start with was, this is something that, like, remembering this just really helps me a lot, and that is the fact that God never said it was going to be easy to trust Him.
Yeah.
He never said in the Bible, "Hey, it's the super easy thing, you just gotta trust me." Like, it should be easy, but He never said it would be, because it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And we, like, you know, as humans, we want to do what we want, and we have this, like, this craving of, like, wanting to do what we think is best, and, like, hoping that this plan plays out perfectly, when in the end, you know, like, we have these little life plans, we have these little things that we want to happen, and God's plan is so much greater.
Yeah.
And in the end, you know, like, something I really think this kind of, like, puts things into perspective for me. Everything this far has worked out in my life, so what's to say that the future isn't going to work out?
Yeah.
Because I've trusted God in, you know, the things I've done. I mean, I haven't trusted Him in everything, and I definitely it's something I need to work on. But, you know, like, the things I have trusted God for, they've all worked out. Whether it was a bumpy road or if it was a clean, smooth slate, like, everything will work out in the end. The only thing that won't work out in the end is whether or not you go to heaven or hell, and that is based off of God.
Or not you, like, put your faith in God or not.
Yeah.
You have to put your faith in God in order for everything to work out in the end. Like, yeah, you just have to, like, it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
And it's, like, because you, like, want to do your own thing, and you want to not put your trust in God, you know? Like, obviously, like, everybody does, but, like, also, like, it's really hard to actually do. Like, you say you're gonna do it, but you don't actually do it. And that's, like, another thing. You have to, like, actually do something if you're gonna say, like, if you're gonna say you're doing, if you're gonna say you're gonna do something, like, you just do it.
Follow through with it, yeah.
If you, like, keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, it's not gonna get done.
Yeah.
Like, putting your faith in Jesus, like, that's you know.
That was something I used to put off a lot. It's like, you know, like, I'll pray tomorrow, I'll read my Bible tomorrow, or, like, you know, like, maybe tomorrow I'll really start trusting in God's plan. But, like, that is something that can happen right now. And honestly, you know, like, one of the biggest things is, it's not really a task. You know, a lot of people are like, well, trusting God is just, like, so difficult. And yeah, it is difficult. But it's really not a task. It's more like, it's something we get to do.
Yeah, it's a blessing.
It's a blessing that God has given us. We don't have to worry about the future. We have this God who created the universe and created us, and we get to trust in Him, and we get to know that He has a plan that's going to work out. Like, that is such a blessing.
Yeah, we get to give Him our stresses and our anxieties and all of this stuff, and, like, He just lifts the weight off of your shoulder, and you're worrying about so much less.
Yeah. Yeah,
There's
exactly.
so much less to worry about when you, like, put your trust in God.
This is a verse that you've probably heard before. It's a pretty popular verse, but it's Proverbs 3:5, and that is, trust in the Lord with all your heart. it is such, like, I've heard this verse so many times. Like, if you grew up in church, you've probably heard this verse before. It's a really popular verse, and it's super simple, trust in the Lord with all your heart. But if you can really dig deep into that verse.
Yeah.
Like, you are trusting in the Lord with all of your heart.
Not just
And,
a little bit,
I love to bring up this verse, but it's like, 1 Samuel 16:7. It's, the Lord doesn't look at the outward appearance, he looks at the heart.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're trusting God with your full heart, you are not going to have any anxiety. You're not going to have any worries. You don't have worries for the future. Like, I mean, honestly, I've been having a lot of worries lately about the future, mainly because, I'm in high school and I'm thinking about college and, like, getting a job and all this stuff. And these are just, like, worries that you have as a person.
Yeah.
And, like, in the end, they're going to work out. And these are just little things in the span of forever that we're going to spend with Jesus. These are such small things. Like, to worry about them and to not put your trust in God is such a bad decision.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even stress that enough. Like, it's just stupid, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, you have this, like, God that will, like, take all these troubles away from you, but you're choosing to worry about them.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's also, like, the devil getting to you. Because he's like, oh, hey, like, what about your future? Like, you should be worrying about that.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to. You don't have to worry about your future if you trust in God, if you put your faith and trust in God.
And that's not to say that you should just live in the moment and do whatever. But, like, one of the biggest things that I think about is, like, I heard someone say this once and it really stuck with me. It was, live today like God is coming back tomorrow. Like, if you live today as if, the rapture is going to happen tomorrow, God is coming back, you are deciding today whether or not you are going to heaven tomorrow, live like that every single day, because it could be true. I could wake up tomorrow morning and Jesus will be back. I'll hear those horns, I'll hear all this, like, chaos, but I will go up to heaven with Jesus. Like, it could happen any moment. It could happen the next couple seconds. Like, you never know. It's all in God's hands, and that is just something that I feel like it's good to remember, because, like, if you're living today, like, oh, I'll start loving Jesus tomorrow, or, like, I'm just doing this one thing, like, it's not that big of a deal, I'm just drinking today, I'm just doing drugs today, I'm doing the sexual sins today, but, like, tomorrow I'll fix it. Like, no, fix it today, fix it right now, because that means tomorrow you are making that decision again.
Yeah, tomorrow, like, if you make the decision today, then by tomorrow you can be cleansed. Like, you can be cleansed in tomorrow,
Yeah.
You, like, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pretty biased, but my favorite disciple is Simon Peter. He is just my favorite disciple for so many reasons, but I just love his story. The fact that he tried so hard to, like, get this perfect life for his wife and, to be a good fisherman and all this stuff. But, I mean, I won't go into the whole story because there's, like, this whole story about Simon Peter.
Yeah.
But, he had some tax frauds, he got into some bad trouble with the Romans, all this bad stuff was happening, and he was cursing God. He was like, I've trusted you my whole life, and this is what you give me? Like, I'm over here struggling, I can't do anything, and he's trying to catch all these fish, and he's not catching any fish, because he's not trusting God. He'd been catching fish before, and he curses God, and then he stops catching fish. He gets into all this trouble with the Romans, and he's gonna get killed. He's about to get killed. And that is when he sees Jesus himself, and he catches, like, it's this whole, I don't know if you've ever heard the story, but, like, he sees Jesus, and he talks to Jesus, and that's when his net fills with fish, like, boatloads of fish, thousands of fish, and that is God. And he sees Jesus, and he goes, you are the Son of God, you're the Messiah. I know this to be true, because like, I can see it with my own eyes. And he apologized, he gets down on his knees, and he's like, I am so sorry for ever cursing you. And this is when he decides he wants to be a disciple. And Jesus says, follow me. And he says, absolutely, this is my teacher, this is my rabbi. Like, I will follow him to the ends of the earth, because I know the amazing things he can do. And I know that when I'm around him, I can trust him, and I know that good things will happen. And it's something, like, all the disciples, like, they always have their moments where, they're doubting God. They're like, God, why are we going, the water and turning water into wine? God, why are we going to this random wedding? This small wedding with unimportant people. God, why are we traveling here? God, why have we been traveling for so long? But, in the end, it's gonna work out because Jesus has a plan and God has a plan,
Yeah.
and they know what's gonna work out and they know what works best.
Yeah. Jesus has a plan for every single one of us, and it's like we all have our own like path. We just have to put our faith in Him and trust in Him every single day.
Mm.
Like it's hard to do sometimes because sometimes you know that He doesn't want you to do something, but you really want to do it. But like that's not gonna get you any closer to where you should be.
Mm.
Doing that one little thing that you want to do so bad. That's not gonna get you any closer to going up to heaven and seeing Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about a little bit about it's in Genesis 27 if you want to read it. It's a really good story. It's about Jacob and Esau and how Jacob takes Esau's blessing, and he took his birthright before this, and now he's trying to take his blessing.
Yeah.
And if you want to read that story, it's a really good story. But basically the premise of it, what we were talking about is if you are, you got to remember that God has given you blessings in order to trust Him for more blessings.
Yeah.
You can, whether it's something small, like God, thank you for giving me food today. That's not so small. Like it can be a big thing, but it's also, we don't think about it as much. That's something small to us. A lot of people don't get that luxury, but like that might be something small to you. You get food every day, but you can just think, God, thank you for giving me this food. You blessed me with this, so why wouldn't I trust you for more blessings? Or it can be big things like, God, thank you for giving me 2 legs so I can walk.
Yeah.
Or God, thank you for giving me my best friend. Like things like this.
Yeah.
It's like you can thank Him for this, and you can see all the blessings He's given you, and realize why wouldn't He give me more in the future? He's gonna give me more in the future because, like I said, things have worked out this far with God, so why wouldn't they work out more in the future?
Yeah.
It's like it's really eye-opening to realize that, like, if He's done all this in the past, then He's gonna do more in the future.
Oh, there's something else.
I do have this verse. It's Matthew 8:26, and it says, "Oh, you of little faith," Jesus replied, "why are you so afraid?" Then He got up and rebuked the winds and the sea, and it was perfectly calm. So if you know this story, you probably have heard it before. But this is the story where they're out of the sea and Jesus is sleeping. There's this big storm going on. The disciples are freaking out. They're like, we're gonna get thrown overboard. We're gonna die. This is horrible. And Jesus is sleeping. And they wake him up. They're like, what are you doing? Like, can you fix this? Like, what's going on? We're gonna die. Everything's gonna go overboard. This is horrible. And he says, oh, you of little faith. Like, you have no faith in me. You don't trust me in these horrible times, in these stormy times. You aren't trusting me. And that is why this is happening. And then He calms the seas. And He says, why are you so afraid? When I'm right here, He's literally, like, Jesus in the flesh is right there, and they're still not trusting Him. And honestly, we may not realize, but Jesus is with us. He might not be here in flesh, but He is with us.
With us in spirit.
He is with us, and the fact that we aren't trusting Him in these moments is stupid. Like, sometimes I'll look at myself and be like, why was I so worried about that? Because in the end, it will work out because Jesus got me. He's got my back. He's my best friend. He's my dad. He's got my back.
So this is stop trying to sit at tables Jesus flipped, and it's basically saying, like, Jesus is has already told you not to do this. He's already shown you not to do this.
Yeah.
And you still are trying to do it over and over again. Like, it's just worthless. There's no meaning to it.
Yeah.
It's the devil trying to get to you.
Yeah, it's partially trusting in God to, like, guide your way, but it's also trusting that God is the things that God is telling you not to do. You're trusting that is His plan and that is going to work out.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many horrible things that happen in the Bible, and these people trusted God. One of the craziest stories to me, it still blows my mind every time I hear it, is the fact that Abraham is sent onto this mountain, and God says, sacrifice your son Isaac. He said, go up onto this mountain and sacrifice your son.
Yeah.
And this is crazy. Imagine, you have your son, and God Himself tells you to go sacrifice him.
Yeah.
Like, that must be devastating. But Abraham, he hiked up this mountain, and he brought his son, and he told his son, God will provide. And when he knew he was going to have to sacrifice his son, he gets up to the mountain. He's tying Isaac down. He's this close to sacrificing him. And God says, stop. And a lamb walks by, and they sacrifice the lamb instead. But this is trusting God when the road seems so bad, when this friend is just like, I can't handle them right now, but like God wants me to be their friend.
Yeah.
It's trusting his plan when the road is so bumpy and you just feel like you can't handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, because when that was happening, like Isaac, like he didn't know what was going on, because like obviously he wouldn't walk up a mountain with his father to be sacrificed, knowing like he was gonna be sacrificed.
Yeah.
Like so he thought he like walked up the mountain and he was like he got up there and he was like, "Where's the lamb?" And that's when Abraham said, "Jesus will provide."
Yeah.
And then like that's like really crazy to me. Like yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's there's stories in the Bible too where like people just aren't trusting God. Like, you've got the story of Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
She had all these demons in her, and she thought she was not fixable. She thought she was going to be like possessed forever, and there was no curing her because all these like rabbis had come to her and tried to fix her, but nothing was working until she met Jesus Christ. And from then on, she trusted him because she knew. We may not. I've seen miracles, but we haven't seen Jesus himself walking around in the flesh, turning water into wine, doing all these miracles, making the sick healed. We haven't seen him doing those things, but I have seen miracles. Miracle being, I'm here, I'm existing, I have 2 legs, I have a mouth where I can speak and preach to random people on the internet. But like, I have seen so many miracles, and just like, knowing that stuff has happened, why would you not trust God? He has a plan, and he's carried it out for years and years and years with so many people. And there's famous people who die, and they love Jesus, and you just know, you get this feeling, you're like, they were right. There was something about them, they trusted God, and that's just so inspiring. Like, knowing people that really truly trust God with all their heart is so inspiring.
You may not see it now. It may feel like nothing's happening, but everything will work out in the end. Have faith, your prayers, and your trust in God will not be in vain. And it's like, just even though it's hard to trust in God, just continue to do it, because it won't be in vain. Like, you're not gonna get nothing out of it. You're gonna get eternal happiness from it. Yeah. By putting all your faith and all your trust in God.
I really like the prayer part about it. Sometimes prayer feels pointless. It feels like, why am I talking to this God who, he's not verbally responding to me? And it might take some time for him to give me a yes or a no or a just wait, Like, there are times where I'll pray and he'll say, wait, just be patient, and it will happen in the future. Maybe not the way you planned. Maybe it will happen exactly how you think it's going to happen. But he has a plan, and sometimes prayer just feels like it's pointless. It's just like, you're asking God for these things, and you just want them right now, and you want them in your way. It's like, hey God, give me this career with this husband and this amount of kids in this amount of time. And it's like, that doesn't need to happen for me to have full joy, because the only purpose we have is to obey Christ and to glorify him. So as long as I'm living and glorifying God, no matter what happens, no matter if I go down this career path or marry this person or have kids this young, like, it doesn't matter, because I'm following Christ, and that's all we're set to do. And that's all we need to do. And like, a lot of people, you can't have the world and Jesus at the same time. You can only have Jesus, and that's all that's going to work out. If you're worldly, it's not going to work out in the end. But if you truly have Jesus, that is when it's going to work. And a big part of that is trusting him, obviously, because you can't fully love somebody without trusting them. I can't be best friends with you and not trust that you'll follow through with whatever you're doing, or not trust that I can tell you things without you like telling the whole world. Like, trust is such a big part of a relationship. And God, he didn't want to start a religion. He wanted to start a relationship. He started this religion so that he can have a relationship with all of us, because he loves us. And that's why he wants us to trust him, because that's what a friend would want. That's what that's what a father would want from his kids, is trust.
He also wants to be able to trust us. He wants to be able to trust us with like every blessing he gives us, and not use it poorly. And I mean, like, he still, like, obviously will give you blessings either way.
Yeah.
But, like, he still wants you to trust him.
God will bless you, but if you're using your blessings in a bad way, he's not going to.
Yeah.
He needs to trust us in return, because, some people will use the blessing of money and they'll go give to the poor, and they will, they'll use that money sparingly in a way that matters, and they'll give their offerings to the church. And then some people will go and use that money to make more money or to go on shopping sprees, and they're not using it in a godly manner. And I mean, you might think, like, I used to have this thought, like, how can I make everything I do godly? Like, buying a pair of pants or eating my food. How can I make that godly? But you can make everything godly if you do it with joy and you do it with trust in God.
Yeah.
Like, it could be something as simple as, man, I can't find a pair of pants that fit me. And then you go, God, help me find a pair of pants that fit me. Like, literally, at a store, you could be, hey, I'm gonna trust you that if I don't find the outfit I need, that you'll provide.
Yeah.
It's little things like this. Or like, oh man, I'm really hungry right now. I hope they have good food at lunch today. Like, God, I trust you. You're gonna provide me good food.
Yeah.
Like, in the end, little things like that, they work out, right? That thing you were worrying about earlier, it worked out, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I didn't finish my homework, I'm gonna get a bad grade, but it'll work out in the end. That little tiny thing grades don't get you into heaven, and money doesn't get you into heaven. It's trusting God and truly loving him. That's what gets you into heaven. So why would anything else matter?
Yeah. I have a little sticky note on my computer, and it says grades won't get you into heaven, and I like it because it's like a little reminder, like, grades really don't matter in the end. Like, yeah, they'll get you into college and stuff, but like, that, like, in the end, that's not what matters.
Yeah.
In the end, what matters is Jesus and loving him.
And like, earthly things, they matter in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, of course, like, you don't want to be, homeless on the streets. But even in that situation, I have seen people, I mean, not me personally, but like, I'll watch videos or something where like a homeless person is completely trusting God. They're like, I am in the worst place right now, but I am trusting God. And that's all that matters. You could be in the greatest position or you can be in the worst position, but trusting God through and through all of that is all that matters. Because I have a great life. I am so privileged. I have so many blessings. And like, sometimes I forget that, and sometimes I don't trust God. But trusting God through this is so important, because there are people who are in the worst places and they're still trusting God. There were people in prison, or, Daniel, he was literally in a lion's den. Literally, he could have gotten eaten, he could have gotten killed, and he trusted God and nothing happened. And he was safe because he trusted his God.
Yeah.
And God is what got him in there in the first place, not God himself, but trusting God is what got him there in the first place, since the king didn't want him worshiping a god and not him. Like, that's what got him in there in the first place, but he continued to trust God because he knew God had a plan and that he was testing him.
Yeah. Trusting God is, like, everything.
Yeah.
But if you don't trust God, then, if your eternal life, your eternal happiness is, like, not there anymore. You just don't, like, you don't get that blessing anymore. So, like, by trusting God and his plan, you will get everything you need and more. Like, he will provide. Jesus provides.
Yeah.
Every single time. And, like, he's just so good.
He's so good. Like, it's like, all these things that we worry about so many things. Little things like, man, I forgot to brush my teeth. Or big things like, how am I going to pay for college? These things, like, whether it's huge or small, they're all small. In the long run, all that matters is that you're trusting God so that you can get to heaven and you can be with him and never have to worry about anything ever again.
Yeah.
Because in heaven, there's nothing to worry about. You're with God and you're with people of God, and you're just existing in this perfect place. There's nothing to worry about. And on earth, there's really nothing to worry about either. I mean, there's earthly things that you can worry about, but in the end, you don't have to worry about it. It's such a privilege. Like, it's not a task, like I said. It's literally not something you have to do. It's a privilege we get because we love God. We get to know that this greater being has a plan and that we don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
That's such a privilege. I can sit here and know God has a plan. God will take it over, and all I'm here to do is listen to him and follow his plan. Yeah. That doesn't mean we get to sit here and be lazy and do nothing. That means we follow God's plan and we do what he needs us to do in order for this plan to follow out. And you whether or not you hear God's voice or you know, see him in big miracle ways, you know, God is always talking to you through prayer or through whatever, and he's always telling you what you should and shouldn't do.
Yeah.
You know, there's always something he's communicating with you through.
Especially nowadays, like with all like the technology and stuff, like he will also communicate with you through like videos and stuff like this. Like, but also you have to like be able to tell the difference between God's voice and the devil's voice, because the devil also will communicate with you through technology. In like videos and stuff. Yeah, there's so many things that God can communicate with you through, like, you know, through your Bible, through prayer, through a friend, you know, or that scared me. Or literally through anything. But the devil will also communicate to you through random things, like through your friends, or through, you know, like, you'll pray and you'll think, oh, God answered me. No, that's the devil trying to make you think that God answered you. He'll sneak up to you and he'll try to get you to believe him in any way possible. He can also, I mean, he can't, like, the devil can't talk to you through the Bible because the Bible's holy. Yeah. But he will try to get to you. He'll try to twist it. Yeah. He will try to get to you through, like, different means that seem like they're holy, but they really aren't. Yeah, because, you know, there are so many people who have twisted the Bible nowadays, you know, saying, like, you say this is wrong, but the Bible also says this. And it's like, but it says pretty clearly that it's wrong, you know? Things like trying to twist it and trying to say, well, this story might possibly mean this. And it's like, but it literally says right here that it means something else. Yeah. You know, so many people try to twist the Bible and say, this is okay because it says this. But it's talking about a completely different subject. And it has nothing to do with the subject you're trying to twist. The Bible is what it is. The Bible is as it is, and it's pretty clear onto what, you know, the Bible can be confusing. There's some big words, some big names. But in the end, the Bible is what it is, and it's gonna tell you exactly what you need to know. Yeah. This is literally the guide to life. This is all I need to know about the world in order to love Jesus and go to heaven and spend time with him. Yeah. And one way that people tend to, like not even on purpose, but just, like, accidentally twist up, like, the Bible and, like, verses and stuff is when somebody just does one singular verse and doesn't explain it or anything. It just says a verse, so people assume what it means, when really it means something else. And that's, like, one way people, like, get confused about certain things that the Bible says. Yeah, like, I mean, this is just something that, like, I wasn't trying to twist it, but we were starting to read Ecclesiastes, and I mean, I'd never read it before, but the very first chapter, section, whatever, is called Everything is Meaningless. Yeah. So immediately I was like, what does this mean? Yeah, how am I supposed to trust this book of the Bible when it's saying that everything is meaningless? Yeah. But as we went through that, you know, we started to realize this is talking about everything is meaningless without the Lord. Yeah. You know, without that trust in the Lord, you know, if we're over here trusting ourselves, trusting the universe, whatever, things are not going to work out, and it's all meaningless because we have trust in things that are not real or that don't matter. And if you put trust in God, you know, you've got a purpose, and, you know, it's not meaningless, and it really has some, like, it has meaning to it. Yeah. Life has meaning through Jesus. Yeah, and only through Jesus. There's no purpose without the Lord. That's literally the whole point of Ecclesiastes, which I definitely recommend going through. We're still going through it right now. Yeah. But I've actually done that recently. Yeah, but I definitely recommend going through it because it really talks about how, like, there is no point of living without Jesus. Because, you know, it's King Solomon talking about how he's confused. He says, what is the purpose? What is the purpose for someone who doesn't believe in Jesus? Yeah. Where is their purpose? And he goes through all of these different things, working, being smart, you know, having money. He goes through all of these things, and he finds no purpose in any of them without Jesus. Yeah. Because everything, sorry. Purpose is, like, you know. Yeah. I give up. Purpose is, like, you know. Yeah. Jesus is purpose. There we go. Yeah. The Lord is purpose. Yeah. We still have time. Wow. I know. This is really weird. Okay, wait.
And along with that, it's like, you know, God is the only one to trust. There's so many different like gods, and you know, you've got the universe, you've got like crystals or witchcraft, all these different things, or even yourself. You know, people idolize so many different things nowadays, and like those things are all meaningless because God is the only one you can trust that will actually have meaning. And no matter what, you can go through so many different religions or beliefs or whatever, and you're gonna find that the only one that really changes anything is Jesus, because there's no purpose in any of those.